So this is quite an extensive section, Rama explaining the nature of his despondency, and it's very thorough. He first of all went on about wealth, how wealth is a trap, how it brings responsibility, how it never seems to be enough, you want to keep on generating more wealth, how it can breed enemies. I'm thinking, about an example like Paul McCartney, or anybody famous or wealthy. How do you ever know that somebody is interested in you for other than your wealth? It must be quite a tricky situation to be in. So wealth, although it probably has many benefits, certainly has some very serious and fundamental problems. And Rama also spoke about our limited lifespan. But there's one other thing he mentions in that context. He says, "To the unwise, knowledge of scriptures is a burden. To one who is full of desires, even wisdom is a burden." Now, I think this is a situation where we know what's right, but we don't do it. And I think this is the burden of knowing what's right. We know what the right thing is to do, but we're not inclined to do the right thing, and we're inclined to go against it. And so knowledge of what is right is a burden. And if you're just concerned with following your desires, it's even more so. It generates guilt, dissatisfaction, and all sorts of other things. He says, "To one who is restless, his own mind is a burden. And to one who has no self-knowledge, the body is a burden." In other words, everything's, both mind and body, are problematical. Our mind, which is it's a strange business, our mind is our own worst enemy. How can this be? How can your body or your mind be your enemy? Who is this me that we're talking about? Well, this is something that Rama goes on to talk about further. But before I go on with it, I want to try and explore this a little bit in more everyday terms. Because the next section is about egotism. He talks about the desperate nature of egotism. And it's not egotism in the normal sense of the word, it's the whole notion of personality that he's talking about. The whole notion of I, what we mean by I. Actually, I think I will just read on this with this section. Rama continued, "Holy Sir, I am bewildered and scared when I contemplate the coming into being of the dreadful enemy of wisdom known as egotism. It comes into being in the darkness of ignorance and flourishes in ignorance. It generates endless sinful tendencies and sinful actions. All suffering surely revolves around egotism. It is the I who suffers, and egotism is the sole cause of mental distress. I feel that egotism is my worst disease. Spreading the net of worldly objects of pleasure, it is this egotism that traps living beings. Indeed, all the terrible calamities in this world are born of egotism. Egotism eclipses self-control, destroys virtue, and dissipates equanimity. Giving up the egotistic notion that I am Rama, and giving up all desires, I wish to rest in the self. I realize that whatever I have done with an egotistic notion is vain, Non-egotism alone is truth. When I am under the influence of egotism, I am unhappy. When I am free from egotism, I am happy. Egotism promotes cravings. Without it, they perish. It is this egotism alone, without rhyme nor reason, that has spread the net of family and social relationships to catch the unwary soul. I think I am free from egotism, yet I am miserable. Pray enlighten me. It's interesting, that last bit on the what he says about family and social relationships as a form of egotism. It might sound quite peculiar to us, but it was even more shocking. It is even more shocking to the Indian mind, because social and family relationships are much more important and significant in Indian society. But there is Rama saying that there's neither rhyme nor reason for them. So let's try and get some kind of angle here, because he talks about being free from egotism. You can only be happy if you're free from egotism. And he's tying egotism up with family, with relationships, with friends, with friendships. And he includes that along with the desire for worldly objects of pleasure. And egotism is responsible for all the terrible calamities in the world. It destroys virtue and dissipates equanimity. But if I'm not my ego, then what am I? And this is a line of spiritual inquiry in itself. Well, to try and get some sort of angle in this, let's bring it down to very practical terms.